Hey Buns, so listen, lately I've heard a lot of y'all say things like, I'm not good enough for Savage, or Ultimates are way beyond me, I could never do something like that.
Is
Or
volume good?
I'm really scared if a little girl is going to beat me up in the extreme trial. All of that will remain true as long as you keep standing in your own way and you keep making arguments in favor of your own perceived flaws and shortcomings rather than focusing on what you're already doing right and what you can do better. And look, I know there are plenty of people who are happy just doing casual stuff and hanging out in G-Pose. And honestly, G-Pose is its own skill. So I'm not talking.
I don't understand this. Like, this is the one thing about Final Fantasy that I just do not understand. The fact that people have, like, their mode of playing the game is taking screenshots of their character. Like, I'm sorry, guys, but it's just, that's a lot, man. It really is. That's a fucking lot.
Talking to those people today, like G-Pose, roleplay, fanfiction. There's plenty of other ways to enjoy the world of Final Fantasy XIV that involve their own skills. That's not what I'm talking about here today. I just want to be clear. Today, I'm focusing on actually improving your skill at the game, like the job performance and hard battle content, improving as a player, doing more damage, doing more healing, being more of an effective player. And people often think about these things that feel intimidating, these types of content that seem sort of pie in the sky for them. That's how they perceive it. I did when I started. I was terrified getting my first extreme trial, and think of those things and they're like, well, why bother? If I can just, there's plenty of good stuff to do in the game that doesn't require perfect play and isn't as punishing, and I can still just kind of toot around. And honestly, thank the 12 that not all the content in 14 is brutal and ridiculously hard, because it would be suffocating if the game was such that there was nothing chill to do to relax in. But with the ultimate race going on this week, and this particular one being so crazy, and
this is really nuts, bro. Like, I see, like, the fact that they haven't killed this boss yet. Man, I thought this was gonna be over. This was gonna be a one and done. I thought this was gonna be a one and done. Like, it was gonna come out, and then, like, the guilds were gonna clear it in a couple of days, and that was gonna be it. But, like, they have a million phases? Yeah, it's nuts.
Captivating to watch. I've been casting it for Mog Talk a couple of days this week. This has stirred up a lot of interest in hard content for people that had otherwise never considered it. But now I see people considering it and then immediately stopping themselves from getting on the path that would actually take you there by saying that they feel inadequate or unmotivated or unconfident, or it's just so far beyond me, it's impossible. Even as they dream about what it would be like to be in a group that manages to save Redacted, save our boy, to have that chance to personally go back and see things go down differently. Like, that is a very appealing prospect that has piqued a lot of people's interest.
I think there's also a lot of people out there that, like, there's not a binary, you either raid ultimates and you clear the newest ultimate, or you don't do extremes. You don't do anything. Like, I think that there are people that can gradually, play what they're confident in and play what they feel good about, and not just feel like they have to immediately go 0 to 60. Like, just play and, take it seriously and just see where that takes you. And the thing is, like, if you're doing extremes and they're stressful for you, and you're doing Savage after that, and you're not having fun doing Savage because it's really stressful, then why the fuck would you want to do an ultimate? You see what I'm saying? Like, yeah, why would you even want to do an ultimate if you're already having these things happen? You see what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So that's what my best advice is for people. Like, why spend any of your time doing that? Yeah, and so it's, don't try to go 0 to 60. Try and make small increments and see what you enjoy, and then go from there.
And understandably so, but I think a lot of people have this misconception that, like, either you're a casual or you're not, like, or you just wake up one day and you are suddenly super, super good. Like, the fairy godmother of raiding just shows up and blesses you with a best in slot gear. But actually,
that does happen.
That is kind of what
that does happen.
She did.
It's called streaming.
Cinderella, now that you think about it.
Yep,
she got a mega upgrade in her gear, like, overnight. But that's usually not how it happens. Okay. normally it is a really boring day-to-day grind, and that's going to be true of any skill. Like any kind of self-improvement in this world, we love to glamorize the pinnacle of achievement. Like we love to glamorize the ultimate or the savage rating, but what we don't
people don't see, like, and this is the thing with like the race to world first, for example. Like you think, oh man, these guys are so fucking cool, they cleared the raid, oh my god, you know, and like it is cool. Like I'm not saying it's not cool, but what you don't see are the heroic splits every day on every character, doing them every time, getting all that ready, and then wiping on the boss because it's bugged, and then wiping on the boss because you got bad RNG, and oh, the wrong people got the debuff, it's a wipe again. Oh my god, that's the way it goes.
Is the long road that it took to get there, and that is a road that you can step on yourself at any time. It's just an ordinary path of slow, incremental improvement, the day-to-day, the fighting dummy, the wiping on the trials, the normal, and very unintimidating, unimpressive failures that you've had, as well as all the little victories that have kept your engine running along that path, and all the lovely people that you meet along.
That's one thing I think people understood whenever they started they started watching streams, is like even people that are rank 1 players fuck up all the time. Like, yeah, I mean, they fuck up constantly. Like, that's the way it goes. It's just, I mean, mistakes happen.
The way when you decide to pursue that path of self-improvement. So today, I just kind of wanted to make a case for why it's worth it and why it is fun, and why the path towards becoming a better player is, for me, the path that I have found the most fulfilling in this game. Like, this is the path upon which I have found lifelong friends, and I just want to see if I can try to convince you to step on the path with me today, just to give you some reasons why it's worth the effort. So obviously, bragging rights, like, success is its own reward and all that, but I swear, after I start seeing people who have cleared the Dragon Song Ultimate walking around with...
I think the best thing about it is to go, like, she's totally right. And it's completely fucking vain and ego-driven, but it's to show up in the city and you're the only person with the sword, or you're the only guy with the mount. And it's like everybody is around you, and it's like you're standing next to them, and like they're looking in your general direction, and you give them the rhetorical click, you know? You click on them, and you already knew that they were inspecting you. People accidentally invite you to a group whenever they mean to inspect your character. Remember whenever those two options were right next to each other in WoW? I would get invited to groups all the time, and people would get super embarrassed by it. Like, there's people that did that, and they logged off. Because they're like, oh my god, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, he's going to be so mad at me, right? And like, that's what it was. Yeah, you post up, you let people know, and that's all there is to it. Like, it's the same reason why people buy an expensive car. That's it, having a sexy costume, yeah. And it's just, that's the way things go. I think bragging rights is a huge reason for why things like this matter, and it's a reason why cosmetics matter in games in general. It's because these types of things happen, and you know, you have these big accomplishments, and you want to have these accomplishments mean something to other people. And so if you have a bunch of like really big shiny cosmetics, and like everything's, you know, everything muddies the waters, it's hard to say like, oh, what's like really hard to get or what's not. But you have certain things that are very they're much more defined, like ultimate weapons, etc. And people can say like, wow, this is an accomplishment. Yeah, a plus 20 weapon glow. Exactly. That's cool.
There are weapons and there are titles. Like, yeah. I am just gonna like slash grovel when I see them, because these are literal god gamers. Like, this ultimate especially, I think it has raised the bar of prestige. Like, we've never seen anything this hard. And something like this requires just insane precision, perfect play. And yeah, it might take a long time to clear an ultimate, any ultimate, if you're starting from scratch, if you've never worked on improving yourself before, but nothing worth doing is easy. And if it was easy, it wouldn't be as prestigious. If it was easy, it wouldn't feel as good to get it done. And it is absolutely something that you can work towards. I would not recommend that you start with this. Please do not start with this one.
Yeah, this is, I feel like, how long does this one go on for? I feel like this is at least a 25-minute fight. Like, we're talking about a 25-minute fight here? Yeah, it's a 20-minute fight. Like, yeah, this is some 25 to 30. Yeah, I mean, 20 minutes roughly. If it's about 20 minutes, that's about Heroic Ragnaros. And I remember Heroic Ragnaros was fucking ridiculous. Like, I've always said that a Heroic Ragnaros was one of the hardest fights Blizzard's ever made. Like, and like, maybe not compared to now. Like, yeah, probably not compared to now. But like, back whenever it came out, Heroic Ragnaros was as big of a step up in difficulty as something like, fucking, no, let me think, like, I don't know, Sunwell was. It was just massive, disgusting how hard it was. And Yoshi P said 18 minutes, definitely below 20. Spine and Deathwing. Spine and Deathwing was just tuned really hard. It wasn't like hard mechanically. It was just like really hard tuning. And you had to add certain classes that did a lot of damage. And so like what I'm saying is like, a lot of these things, you're right. It's like if it's easy, it's not worth doing. And if it's hard, then that's whenever it's rewarding. Like that's it.
Because it's nasty. Oh, it's nasty. But I mean, look, even Savage clears, like the Savage mount from the last floor of a Savage tier.
I've seen this.
It's pretty impressive. Whenever
this is one from like
whenever
phase
the tier
3
is still
or whatever,
current and not like an old tier, you can just unsync and
this
easily
is badass.
But this titles weapons and mounts from the hard content in Final Fantasy XIV. This is the flashiest, coolest looking stuff in the game. And
yeah. It's like if you have this, you're obviously at least to some degree good at the game. You know what I mean? Like you have to have a general idea of like, okay, you've got some idea of what the fuck you're doing. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little bit harder, etc. But like, unless you're, you could have bought them, right? Yes, you could have bought them. But like, Rich is not bad at the game. Like, yes, he might not be as good as the people in his group, but he's not bad at the game. Now, I think that if you put 8 Riches in a group, you would be able to kill an ultimate, but it would take longer. You know what I mean? Like that's how I say it. Rich learned the fights. Yes, you learned the fights, guys. Yeah, he learned the fights. Yes, but it would take long. You doubt that? You guys really think he's that bad? Come on, guys. It would take decades? No, like come on. He's not that bad. Come on. He does at least he does his best, okay? He wouldn't make Enrage, maybe not the first time, no, but you get better, just like the same with everything else, man.
It's about glory. It's about earning your place in the halls of Stovokor, I guess. Another thing is that the better you are, the more stuff you can actually do in the game. Usually I recommend that people start with Extreme Trials and do them in the order in which they were released throughout the course of an expansion. You can also try the first Savage floor of a tier. That's usually not too bad, and it will build your confidence. It will like help you unlock the other Savage tiers. You see more and more things start to open up to you. Ultimate you unlock after clearing Savage. So it's a natural progression for you to do that. It will teach you about how raiding works. It will teach you about raiding mechanics and what you need to do to meet things like DPS checks, like basic concepts like that. And you have to do it. Like you just have to actually get in there and do it. And people are naturally a bit resistant to that at times because it's scary. I understand overthinking it.
I think also like a lot of the fights and a lot of the way the game works, and I'm mainly speaking from my experience in WoW, but like I'm sure Final Fantasy works the same way because they're both coded, right? If you do them enough times, you begin to know what to predict and you begin to know what's going to happen. And this is the same as like in Elden Ring. Like you watch somebody who has done one of these fights 50 fucking times, and like there are people who have been able to beat Midir in Dark Souls 3 without rolling, just walking around as like a level 1, because they just know where to stand and they know where to go. So it's like there's not like some kind of crazy fucking thing that like nobody can do or like anything. Like even if you are dedicated enough, you can understand and learn the patterns. And the patterns that you can't learn, there are many cases where you can offset that by doing something different. Ozymandias, thank you very much to the 5. Give the community subs. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me solo her with Melania is a perfect example of that. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to say it. Exactly.
And just feeling like, oh, well, this can go wrong or that can go wrong and I don't know what to do. But when you're worrying about that, you're literally doing nothing. You're actually just sitting there stagnating, doing nothing. And you're not going anywhere. You're not growing. You're not learning. It's better.
Well, it's like, that's why I like just learning things through teaching them rather than try to tell people. Like, how many of you guys had this experience in WoW? you have the raid leader. He's like, all right, guys, everybody sit down. We're going to go ahead and explain the boss fight. So in phase 1, he's going to do the arcane buffet. He's going to knock the tank back, and then the off-tank's going to have to taunt back. Now, you have to know if you knock the tank back, you have to watch out for pulling aggro there. And so, like, he's telling everybody all of these mechanics that really not everybody has to know. And like, you go into phase 1, and what do you really have to know in phase 1? Don't pull aggro on the boss whenever the boss does the thing. Okay, that's pretty much it, right? So you don't need to know anything else. But like a lot of things that people, like one of the worst things that you can have is whenever you have somebody over-explain things, and then through over-explaining it, they kind of push out the important information by just putting in so much information. Have you guys ever had this happen, where it gets over-explained, and you pull the boss, and it's a wipe in less than a minute? Because nobody was really listening, and the most recent thing that they explained was phase 4, because that's the end of the fight, so we explained it, chronologically, and then we get back to phase 1. People already forgot what happened in phase 1. Yes, exactly. So this happens a million times. Cosmopolitic, thank you very much for the 20 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So I think this happens with a lot of people, and it sucks, but, I mean, there it fucking is. And you have to learn, and you have to look at it one step at a time. Like, for example, like I went through the Alexander stuff, and you don't have to deal with every mechanic all the time. You have to deal with like one mechanic, and then another mechanic, and then maybe 2 mechanics at the same time, and that's about it. Like, obviously, later fights are going to be harder, of course, but like if you explain everything front-loaded, it seems impossible. But if you just do it, it's not.
Or just throw yourself at the problem, because the fact is that's what raiding mostly is. That's what hard content 99% of the time is, you just throwing yourself at the problem and learning. And you will get
Trial
more
and
comfortable with that.
Yep.
The thing is that I can actually sit here all day long and tell
again.
you've got what it takes. You can handle more than you think. You have more potential than you think. And I do believe that for every single person can do this, but that is not going to work. Like, not for the long term. If the problem,
I think that's true. I think that most people can do it. Like, and people that can't do it, like there are people that have like anxiety problems, people that have like, let's say they have impaired vision or something like that. Well, it's going to be a lot harder for them, and they might not be able to do it, like straight up, because they have impaired vision. Like, that could absolutely happen. However, I think that there are a lot of people out there who, it's like playing a game like Elden Ring. If you are an average person, you can beat Elden Ring. You can 100% beat Elden Ring. And I don't want to hear what your excuses are or whatever. Yes, obviously it might take you more time, and let's say you don't have time to play the game. Fine, completely fair. To be fair, that is an excuse. That's totally fucking fair. But most people, it's self-fulfilling prophecy, or they just don't want to put in the time for it. Like, that's all there is to it, and it's okay. If you don't want to put in the time for it, totally fucking fine.
is a lack of confidence. The only thing,
unless you're quantum,
that will help you is actual experience in these fights, and working on your rotation, learning these basic concepts. You have to put in the effort, but it's not like, it's fun. It's enjoyable. It's worth it, and it will boost your confidence a lot. And I'm telling you, when you clear these extreme trials for the first time, you're going to feel amazing, and you're going to say, I can handle this, and I can do the next one, and the next one, and the next one. I can do Savage next. The process is...
One thing is like, easing people into content. And like, that was why I kind of had like that was my main criticism of Elden Ring. I thought Margit was just like way too fucking hard as an early boss. One raid tier that I think was the best raid tier for like easing people into challenging content was Siege of Orgrimmar. Like, every boss was a little bit harder than the last boss. And like Immersius, the Twin Protectors, Fallen Protectors, Nourishin, fucking Shav of, what was it? Shav Anger, Shav Fear. I think it was Shav Fear. I don't remember. But one of them, like, each boss was consecutively harder. And you would get to the end and it was like, Thok, like, oh my god, this was fucking brutal. How could it get harder than that? And then it's Siegecrafter and you're like, holy fuck, there's like lasers and drills and bombs and explosions and robots and more lasers and oh my god, somebody's dead. And then I'm getting pushed off the screen and you're like, oh, this is insane. How am I ever going to deal with this? This is terrible. All right, we beat him. Thank God. Okay, it's all downhill from here. And then they say, no, bitch. paragons of the Galaxy. Now you've got to deal with 9 mobs. Each one has its own set of abilities, and you have to decide whenever you kill them. And there's a million other fucking things you have to deal with while that's happening. And then you finally kill them. That's even harder than Siegecrafter. And then Garrosh is just there, and Garrosh doesn't have any crazy fucking abilities, but they just do so much fucking damage that he's really hard. He's even harder than all that because he just does a lot of fucking damage. And it was insane. That is the type of difficulty that I think Final Fantasy has to an extent too. Is that the extreme, you obviously have like the normal trials, the extreme trials, the savages, and the ultimates, and you build yourself up through doing this content. Because if you immediately put somebody into a savage raid or into an ultimate or something like this, they're just going to hit that wall and they're not even going to try to fucking get over it because it's just so insurmountable. It's so like you hit the wall and it's like, oh, this is too much, right? I've like you go into sensory overload. You can't keep up with everything, and you have to go 0 to 60 immediately.
Itself is really fun because
it sucks. As
you get better at a job, it will feel less and less like random button mashing, and it's going to feel more like playing a piano. The more you feel like the flow to your job, it all starts to become second nature. And for me, that's an experience that I never got in World of Warcraft, which is the game I was really hooked on before I found Final Fantasy XIV. Once you get a feel for your job's rotation to the point in which you can get in the flow of it and it's just muscle memory, you'll see how beautifully and how elegantly that layers in to the boss encounter. So granted,
exactly. I think this is the same thing. Like somebody brought this up in chat. I think it's a great example is Sword Saint Ishin. Like Ishin is a perfect fucking example of a boss fight that, like, if you put Ishin halfway through Sekiro, it would just be like, I mean, like, come on, it's impossible, right? But by the time that you get to Ishin, you have every tool that you need to beat him, and you are totally ready to do that. And the only thing that's holding you back is you. That's it. And I think that's something that, like, that's probably the biggest success of Sekiro, I think, is having the boss, like having the last boss be the most challenging boss and having him still be incredibly challenging. I thought that was an incredibly good thing.
Layered into the floor. And in that process of getting better and trying harder content, like maybe even joining a static, you will inevitably make new friends because there's just something about facing extreme challenges, fighting a horrible monster, like going through a rough experience with other people that is bonding. As just human nature will naturally bond y'all together. Look at Harry, Ron, and Hermione with the troll, or look at Han, Luke, and Leia with getting out of the Death Star, or look at Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli in the War of the Ring, and everybody else, and the Fellowship also. Okay, maybe you're not going to be best friends with every single person in Static, but you'll probably make a couple of friends, is what I'm saying. Just don't be a Boromir with a lute, okay? And finally...
that's a little bit of a situation. And so, yeah, I mean, here's the thing, is like, I have, I make friends through raiding too. Like, I think that's generally what would happen. And my favorite thing about making friends with raiding is that, like, my favorite, like, the guild that I was in that I enjoyed the most was Overdose, 100%, because nobody was friends in the raid. But the moment that the raid was over, it's like, hey, Mel, do you want to hang out, do some games, or do some BGs? Like, yeah, sure, man. And, like, everybody goes into their own, like, Discord channel or, like, vent back then, and, like, we're hanging out. But, like, during the raid, everybody was there to work. Everybody was there, like, there was no fucking around. There was no, like, oh, well, you know, like, talking about some bullshit. It was all business, man. And I loved it. I fucking hate raids where people are laughing and goofing and playing around. I'm not there to have fun. I'm there to win. The fun comes after I'm winning. Okay? That's how I see it. Yeah, clear comms. Shut the fuck up. I'm here to win. I'm here to raid, and that's all there is to it.
If you happen to be
and that's fun for
seeking
me.
Type of person, if you are like me, unfortunately cursed with a brain that constantly seeks excitement and dopamine, well, this can be a healthy outlet for you. The raiding can keep the kids off the streets.
Or you could gamble.
Because actually it's a pretty good and addictive high that's much cheaper and healthier than other ways. I mean, there's really nothing like the rush of clearing a boss that you've been working on for a long time, or even clearing a phase, getting past some important threshold in the fight. It can be incredibly exciting. And when you finally see that boss go down, so good. And you hear everybody screaming in the comms. It's just this moment of joy and rapture that you will get addicted to it. You're like, okay, well, when's the next boss?
For me, you know what I would usually feel like? I was like, thank God Bill finally got it right. Oh my God. We could have fucking killed it 2 days ago, but he just keeps getting the mechanic in the last phase and he keeps doing it wrong. Holy shit. Thank God. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Appreciate it, man. All right, well, we're going to have to come back next week because my trinket didn't drop. Okay. Like, I'm trying to think about the last time that I killed a boss and I was, like, actually fucking happy about it. Like, I think maybe, let's see. It's got Kill Jaden. I didn't really prog Kill Jaden. I just came in for a free kill. Velganos, Soling Velganos. It was pretty good. Yeah, I was happy. I beat Velganos. I guess so. Let me think besides that. Coils. I felt like Coils wasn't really, like, super, like, for something to feel, like, really good, it has to have, like, the right amount of difficulty to it. I'm trying to think about a boss fight. Like, in Final Fantasy, which boss fight would that really be? I don't really, like, I'm trying to think about which one did I beat, and I felt like I could, like, Thordan, I felt like we honestly wasted, like, an hour on Thordan because people couldn't figure out that there were 2 eyes in the last phase. Like, I'm gonna be totally honest, they couldn't figure out that, like, Ascalon was an eye, and, like, and there was another eye in the fucking distance, like the Mythic Star Augur. People couldn't figure it out. And Ramua, no, I felt bad on Ramua because I felt like I was the one that held my team back because I wasn't ready for that level of responsibility. Let me think. It's not too late for us to get World First Ultimate? Yeah, sure, Rich. Let's see. Pepsi Man? I did feel pretty good whenever we cleared Alexander 3 Savage. I did. But, like, the only thing is, like, I didn't understand one of the mechanics in the last phase, and because I didn't understand the mechanic, I didn't really feel fulfilled by beating the boss, because I didn't feel like I really overcame it, because I didn't understand it completely. Botanist and WoW, that's, again, another Bill, thank God Bill didn't stand too close to the tank and get hit by the debuff this time. Nail? Yeah, actually, I was pretty happy that we killed Nail. That's actually true. Yeah, because I remember we had like a we came back because I remember we were going to do all craft with Belior. And we came back the next day and the first pull that we had was like a 1% pull. And then we wiped for like another hour, right? And we finally killed her. And I actually felt pretty good about that fight too. Yeah, I was glad about that. Twintanya? No, I felt like we just cheesed the fucking dive bombs. I felt like that made it way fucking easier. As soon as we found out that we could just cheese the dive bombs down in that little area and just everybody moves up and down, it was a fucking joke. Like, yeah, it wasn't hard at all, except people stood in the tornadoes. That's all it was.
I got to experience that again. That was incredible. That will propel you forward on your journey. It will keep you going, keep that engine running down the path. So, like I said before, progress is gradual, but it is also not linear, friends. You will screw up, you will make a fool of yourself, and you will die. But as long as you don't give up, as long as you don't stagnate, as long as you don't have a little pity party, and
I do all those things. And like I have probably one of the worst mentals for doing any type of difficult content at all. Like I go through, there's like basically I go in and like my first attempt or two is really, really good. And then it's like a horseshoe. Basically, this is the way that I progress on a fight. And so length, ENGTA, length, and then skill level. So it's like this. So basically, like I start off, actually it's a little bit like this, right? And so I start off and I do really, really well. And then as time goes on, I get worse at the fight. Actually, it's more like this. Wait a second. Let's actually make... This is usually what happens. Because right about here is whenever I literally just don't care about it anymore. Like, I'm completely over this. I don't want to do the fight anymore. I hate this fucking game. And like, I just want this to be over. There's no longer any adrenaline that gets close whenever the boss fight is low. No, that was happening here, and it was happening here and here. But like this point, I don't care. Right? And then immediately after that, I kill the boss. Yep, I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, fine, I don't give a shit. Thank God. Now let's actually get some work done. Yep, there it is. Then I just immediately beat the boss. Like, that's what I think I hate so much about the games, is that I feel like I'm always my own worst enemy. Like, I am always the person who is holding myself back. It's never the game. It's always me.
You do look critically at your own mistakes first,
yep,
before pointing fingers. You just try to do a little bit better than you did before. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better there? Then you're going to be well on your way to becoming a player that anybody would love to have on their team. A player that when you join the group, people are like, nice. There's that Giga Chad joining our group. Like, what a relief. Because here's somebody who cares and who does their best and who, well, we can count on them to at least try and to give their best effort here today. So that alone is a great achievement. I have made some other videos about how to actually dip your toes into hard content that goes more into detail of like, well, how do I find a static?
My favorite raiders in WoW were always the ones that never talked and always just did their job. Like, I never had to talk to you. I never had to talk you off a cliff from quitting the guild. You never got offended by getting called out. You never got mad about not getting a piece of loot. You never got upset. Like, you would come in and you would do the job and you would play really well, and then you wouldn't talk to anybody, and then you would just leave. Those were my favorite raiders because I never had to think about them. Meanwhile, there was this one guy in my guild, and I remember I had just become an officer again at this point, and I spent over half of my time doing guild administration stuff, dealing with this one person. And the worst part about it is that they were bad. They were bad. And so, like, not only was I spending my time fucking dealing with this person, but on top of that, they were causing trouble. I was getting so upset. They were out there making mistakes. They were texting me. They're like, oh, my girlfriend in the guild is sending nudes to other guys in the guild. It's like, oh, fuck. Come on. No. Why do I have to hear about this again? And it's like, just... No, I'm serious. This actually happened. This legitimately happened. It was a insane fucking time, man. Guild drama, yeah. Again, no. It was a real fucking circus, man.
And how do I check to see if my damage is good? And how do I do this and that? What's my biz? Like, all these basic questions I have covered in other videos. So I didn't want to get bogged down too much in that today. I'll just link to that below. I really just wanted to talk more about why it's important, why the path is so cool and fun and so rewarding, and why the effort is absolutely worth it. I said it earlier, but it bears repeating. Nothing worth doing is easy. And that's something that I try to remember all the time in many different areas of life. Buns, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free just by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow warriors of light. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I think this is a good video. I think that also, like, a lot of it is realizing that most other people, just because, well, I think it's important to talk about it in general. We'll watch the misshapen chair video about the parsing thing, because I do think parsing is it's too positive for me. Yeah, there's the video. If you guys want to give it a like, give her a sub, anything you want. I'll be getting back into Final Fantasy pretty soon, so we'll be seeing a little bit more of her videos, I would assume, right? Her insights, yeah, it's just being chill, I think, about stuff is like what really matters the most. And like, I think that in any competitive content, having a good mental is equal or more important than having actual skill or talent in whatever you're doing. Because like anybody can get good at a game, in my opinion. Like, and I'll tell you guys this, like, I'm always that kind of person. Like, I will play very well, and then I'll get mad, and then I will play badly, right? And so, like, I guess I'm saying this out of my own personal experience, is that, like, I will lose to people that I know I shouldn't lose to.